Good morning. This is Dr. Matt Springer here to talk to you today a little bit about some bird-related activities for midwinter. And the first one, which is a little more time sensitive because it's starting this weekend, is the Great Backyard Bird Count. And what this is it's a 4-day event. So the 12th, February 12th, 13th, 14th, and 15th. That is a group effort between the Audubon Society, the Cornell Lab of Ornithology, and Birds Canada to basically have a citizen science project to obtain a snapshot of bird distributions, so species, where species are right now, and their abundance, so their numbers, how many are you seeing in that area. And this helps researchers just get a gauge year in, year out at this time period, where are birds and how many are there? And it helps us track bird populations over time. And this is a really large program. It's on its, I believe this is the 24th year. But last year, there was over 250,000 people that participated in 194 different countries that counted over 27 million birds represented by almost 7,000 different species. So it's a feat that allows a lot of data to come in very quickly. And honestly, it's not asking a lot of folks. It's free. And it basically saying if you've got 15 minutes that you're willing to look outside and see some birds and count some birds in your backyard, and you are able to put that data in by March 1st, we'd love to have it to help us with this effort. So not a whole lot required of you. You can sit there in your house in the warmth and look out your window and see what you see and be able to help science and better manage all of our bird species in the world. Now, how do you participate? What makes it easier to participate? Well, so there's some simple tools that aid you. First, you have to have a means of entering the data into the system that they use. And that can occur using either the Merlin phone app that they have, or an eBird phone app, or an eBird online account. Both of these are free to sign up, free to download on your phone. And the Merlin app actually is basically a field guide for your phone that'll help you identify birds that you're seeing that you are unsure of. So those are great resources, not only because you need to use them for entering data, but also because they help you accomplish identifying the birds. So other things, any kind of paper field guide would be helpful. Although not necessary, binoculars or some kind of optics will help you identify birds, especially if they're further away. The hope is that you're counting these birds in the backyard, your backyard, as the name says, but you can go anywhere and count birds as long as you're able to record the location and let them know where that is. And the full directions to participate are found there at birdcount.org/participate. It gives you the full list of directions because there's some tidbits here that you need to be aware of. Like in particular, they tell you how to count birds at a feeder. So say a lot of folks that have birds in their backyard, they may be feeding those birds. Well, there's a certain way they want you to count those birds when they're using a feeder because they don't want you double counting a lot of birds. So there's directions on how to do that there as well. The other thing that's coming up here is it's about time that you clean out any bird houses that you may have out in your backyard or on your property. And remember that birdhouses are really meant for our cavity nesting birds. It fills that void of maybe not having cavities available to them to nest in on your property. And remember that we've got about 85 different species of cavity nesting birds in North America. And there's really two different groups, the ones that build the cavities themselves, like woodpeckers, and the ones that use the cavities that they find. So you have a bunch of birds that are potentially using your landscape that will benefit from having birdhouses around. So make sure that if we're going to put them out there, that we're managing them correctly. So remember that this is kind of filling a void for birds and habitat shortages. Sometimes they were caused by us in terms of our logging practices historically, not as much now. But when they were basically clear cutting entire mountainsides at a very large scale, that basically cause them to lose any cavities in the landscape. And wood ducks were a great example of how they their populations dropped like a rock because there weren't any nesting habitats available. So as I mentioned, it is now a good time to clean those boxes if you have them out, or it's a good time to put them up if you're building them. Pretty basic to do this. It's a good idea to clean them annually, or at the very least, inspect them and just brush out old nest material. Because you're making sure that the nest box is in good shape, it doesn't need any repairs or replacements, and you're able to evict any unwanted inhabitants. And I'm going to talk about that here real quick. Equipment that you need is super basic. You want to have a bucket, some gloves, bleach, water, and some kind of device to scrub out the box. Take it down, open it up carefully because of those potential inhabitants. Remove any material that are in there or evict any unwanted inhabitants. Scrape out that fecal material or gunk. Take that 1 to 9 bleach to water solution, scrub it out, and then make sure you rinse it several times to get that bleach out of that area. Place it in direct sun, let it dry. Once it's completely dry, place it back in that position, make sure it's in good working order. It's also a good time, we've talked about these unwanted inhabitants, things like squirrels, especially your gray and flying squirrels, rodents. Sometimes if you have larger boxes like wood duck boxes, you may have things like raccoons, mink, or weasels in there. And later in the year, you may have snakes. It's a good time to think about, if you have these guys in these net boxes as you're cleaning it out, you may want to think about putting predator guards up, which will help you limit their access. And there's plans on how to do that found at NestWatch.org. But here's some examples of basically just making it impossible for them to climb up to that entrance to the hole. Other things is if you're, maybe you don't have birdhouses right now, but you're thinking about doing it, you can find out where to get plans to build birdhouses, what birdhouses you may want given your area, and what size birdhouse you need for the species you want to attract. And that can all be found at nestwatch.org. So with that, I'm kind of ran through that really quick, but it's just time to think about it. I want to touch on it right now. And I'd be happy to answer any questions on either the backyard bird count or why and how to clean out your birdhouses.